Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for ThermOWeb, and I'm sharing with you a flock coloring technique. So I am using flock transfer sheets, and then I'm going to use some distress inks to turn these brighter colors into more subdued fall colors for that fall layout. I am also going to create my own faux wood that I used for that title down there. So I'll go through the technique stuff first, and then the rest will be process video where I will show you how I'm going to complete the layout. So I have backed each of these pieces of flock. I have 4 colors here. I am using the Teal Waters, Sunshine Yellow, Orange Glow, and the Blue Sky. And each of those pieces of flock I have backed with the foam adhesive. That is a permanent adhesive. I like it because it gives a little bit more substance to the foam for my layout, especially when I want to rub the distress ink over it. And I have these dies with a coordinating embossing folder, which I will use for the wood grain letters. So I'm using 3 of the leaves, and I'm cutting those same 3 leaves out of each of the 4 colors. And I just sped through that because you do not need to see me run my dies through the manual die cut machine multiple times. So you can see I've got 3 of each leaf, and it is backed with foam. I'm using my purple tape to just hold them down because it just makes it a little bit easier to apply the Distress Oxide ink. So I have the larger of the 2 Vicki Boughton brushes, and what I'm going to do is each of the colors I'm going to use a different color or series of colors in order to just kind of distress these really bright, sort of more summery feel colors of flock so that I can get a more aged look to them. What I'm trying to show you is there's the really bright yellow that was on the right hand side, and then I am going to apply to the yellow fossilized amber first, so that adds a bit of a more brown tone to that really bright yellow. And then I'm going to go over that with Rusty Hinge. And what I tried showing you with the baby wipe is that it's as simple as just rubbing the bristles of the brush, tongue twister there, sorry, over the baby wipe, and it cleans it well enough to just be able to move on to the next color. So I'm going to do the same thing to each of the 3 different leaves. I actually really liked the way that it left a white shadow, almost like a sun painting or sun photography, and I thought about creating a background for that, but it was a bit more mixed media-y and was going to take a little bit more planning than I was ready for, with this already being fairly heavy mixed media-y, just using the Distress Oxides. So this light blue, I'm using Speckled Egg, which is the newer Tim Holtz Distress Oxide. It didn't need a lot. It was not as bright as the other colors, so it didn't need as much aging, let's call it. So that is Crackling Campfire. That is the newest Tim Holtz Distress Oxide ink that's just been released, and I'm putting that on top of the orange. And I like that it gives it a very sort of burnt orange look, but I wanted a little bit more of that fall leaf look that has a little bit of speckle to it, and so I went over that also with Vintage Photo. And that gives me my leaves that I'm going to add to my layout. So now what I want to do is I'm going to create some faux wood from this. Is the Tuscan Gold, is a brown color. Again, I'm going to back that with foam. I rubbed the ink pad on the embossing folder, and then I'm going to put that flock down into the inked side, and look at that beautiful wood grain that gives me. So I know wood is a little bit harder and not as velveteen as this, but I still really liked the look that it gave me. I could have done the same thing on wood. I do have some thin sheets of wood veneer, but I really liked the way that the flock went with the rest of the collection that I'm using, as well as with the flocked leaves. So it gave consistency to the texture throughout the layout there. Those are Ellie's Studio dies that I am using to cut that title out with. So that is the technique part of this. Now we're going to move on to process video. So if this is scrapbooking is not your thing, you know how you can apply this to your cards. I'm going to apply this to this layout. So I have a digital cut file, and I have backed each of those with pattern paper from Simple Stories Fall Farmhouse, the 6x8 paper pad. And then I want to use my flocked leaves to intersperse them into my layout. I initially thought that I was going to use those LE Studios, the same size LE Studios letters to put walk, and then I was going to do small letters in the woods. But the way that the layout ends up finishing off, I don't have enough room for the bigger letter, and I'm going to end up getting rid of those letters, which is why I just sped through that part of the video. So these pictures, I have a 4x6, and then I have two, they're 3x2 point something, whatever 4x3 shrinks down to when you make it 3 inches tall. And they are of, so that main picture is my husband and I, our feet, and then our reflection is just peeking out over the boardwalk with the fall leaves in the water. And then there's a picture of the two of us walking, and then a picture of me holding one of the fall leaves. I really liked this color palette from Simple Stories. It's a little bit vintage. There's not a lot of white in it, which is unusual for me because I tend to be more white based. That pocket that the leaf photo is in is from Maggie Holmes from a Tuesday morning stash bash, and this is some Vicky Bouton also from Tuesday morning. I've been having a good time using up my stash lately. So my original thought, you could see when I started this as a process video, was I had the picture on the left and a picture on the right in that pocket. The problem is that it ends up being very, very, very top heavy with it that way, and there's a disproportion because of the empty space in the pocket. So I decide, and I also wanted some journaling, so I decide I'm going to use these two journal cards from Vicky Bouton, and I'm going to just stack them, put them as layers, and I want to use that tag at the top there, so I need to shift the whole thing down. And that is the great thing about this Gina K permanent adhesive, is while it is permanent, it is also actually very movable until you have let the adhesive sit for a while. So I could move all of this without having to apply more adhesive to do this. So I like the way that the stacked photos, the way that I end up putting them on the side here, and then the journal cards, the 3x4 cards on the left-hand side, they kind of fan out across the page, which works with the reverse curve of that digital cut file there. So it creates a little bit more symmetry and balance from left to right sides of the page. So if you draw a line down the middle of that photo, there's almost like a mirror image of elements. They're just not the same elements. So that's the branding strip, that pink down the bottom that I ripped, and I'm going to fast forward through this because I have embossed the foam adhesive. It's tough to remove. It's actually normally pretty easy to remove, and it's not really all that hard. It's just a little bit more time consuming because you have to take each little piece off because of the way that I embossed it. So I'll just move super, super fast through that, but I know that the title is going to be Walk in the Woods, and I know that woods is going to be this faux flocked wood grain that I created. I just have to find letters for the top there because my original plan is not going to have enough space. You can see that walk to the left-hand side of my screen there. So I like that. I tried the letters, but I know that they're not going to work. So this is the bulk of the page. The rest of it is embellishing, completing the title, putting in those flocked leaves, and then putting in a few more decorations. So these letters are also puffy, so they're on foam as well. They're from Pink Paisley, and I'm going to do a little bit of a Suzanna title shuffle. I'm kind of known for that. It's actually been a while since I've done it. I was surprised, but because I wasn't sure of the spacing, it's not that bad of a shuffle. It ends up being wood grain as well. It's on a pink foam, and then my woods is on a that white foam. I really like the way that that scallop strip at the top there mimics the shadow with the black in that 6x4 photo. And so you've got these horizontal elements that kind of ground the movement through the page. So I am now going to put in these flocked leaves. I had my original book, you can see what I'm doing here is I'm putting a couple of them around the title, but I found that just created too much busyness. There were leaves everywhere and nothing that grounded your eye and kept you focused on any one particular thing. And I don't like that in my pages, so I will pull up those leaves and I will move them somewhere else. I like the way that this is kind of a bouquet of fall goodies. And I love the way that these flocked leaves add texture to my page and that they are within the same hue of the rest of the papers that I'm using by using the Distress Oxide inks to kind of age them a little bit, to give them more of that softer fall look instead of that crisp summer look. So, yeah, it's a great way that you can change the color of what you have and make it work for something else. So I'm going to scatter the leaves throughout the page. I just like the hints of color, especially where I've got all of that white right there where I'm going to put the journaling. And I am not going to do that on camera. I typically don't because it just takes me too long. So this is some baker's twine. I'm going to put that through the tag there and just let that hang again because I like the movement that that twine creates. What I am also going to do off camera is I'm going to use that same twine, tie a bow and stick that between those two maple leaves in the center of the page there. Those are not maple leaves. Those are probably oak leaves. The two leaves, the orange and the yellow leaf in the center of the photo, I'm going to put a bow there just again to create some more movement through the page because I do have this very heavy block at the top 2/3 of the page. These are also from Tuesday Morning. These are pink paisley, I believe, and that is going to wrap it up. So if you have any questions about the technique that I did, please don't hesitate to leave them in the box down below. Enjoy the close-ups. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Take care.